Hey guys, welcome back to World of Warships. Today we're taking a look at the brand new European battleship line, this time starting with Thor, the tier 10. As always with these early accesses, I'm going to recommend you wait the 2 months that you can just grind these out for free. It's always very expensive to get into these early access events. But this new line is going to be incredibly powerful. Battleships with a lot of cruiser utility. Yes, that is a radar on your consumables. It's a 10-kilometer radar here that lasts for 25 seconds. Not even a very short bursty radar like we see on the European destroyer line, like Gdansk line. It lasts much longer. We also get, yes, torpedoes that hit very hard. I was surprised by how punchy these torpedoes are. They do near gearing levels of damage, have near gearing levels of range, and they're faster. Absolutely wild stuff. However, the dispersion on the main guns leaves a little bit to be desired. Gotta get some good RNG to land those citadels. This ship also gets great detection, 12.3 kilometer detect alongside a 10 kilometer radar, torpedoes. If you're thinking battle cruiser or cruiser, you're not far off, except this is in the battleship slot. In fact, at tier 10, we really don't have much that fills that role outside of, I guess, Rhode Island? That's the only other battleship at tier 10 with a radar. And that one has massive trade-offs in survivability. It legitimately plays much more like a battle cruiser. However, you're going to notice throughout this video that Thor just doesn't take a lot of damage. This ship is incredibly tanky. Not just because you're not spotted a lot of the time. 12.3 kilometer detect is very difficult to consistently stay spotted. And so if you do take a big hit, which you probably won't, looking at the armor towards the end of this video, you can just go dark and then heal up from there. The deck armor here is 40 millimeters, a key threshold that 38 is a little bit more power crept these days. So yes, this one gets 40 mil deck armor, as well as a 70 millimeter upper belt. The Citadel is waterline, and unlike Rhode Island, which has a weak bow and stern armor that can get overmatched, it's not 32 there. This one does have 32 mil bow and stern. I guess the only weak points I really see on Thor is the HP pool, because you have one of the lowest HP pools at tier 10 for battleships, and the dispersion on these main guns. We need to talk about this as we're doing some decent damage, but the dispersion is unfortunately battleship dispersion at 1.8 sigma. So it's not going to feel very consistent at all. 9 guns, 406s here. Torpedoes again showing their incredible value. I really can't believe how good these torpedoes are. Coming from things like Carl Johan, right? Some of the premium European battleships that we've seen with torpedoes. Torps here hit very hard, but let's keep talking about these main guns, because you have the fastest shell velocity of all the battleships at tier 10. Yes, even slightly faster than Slava shell velocity on these main guns. 406s here, but unlike Slava, you actually have the highest alpha damage for 406s as well. Even higher alpha damage than Montana. So you're getting 13,650 alpha damage here. So maybe required that the dispersion is inconsistent and a bit trolly, because otherwise these guns would be crazy. Outside of your main gun shell velocity, you do not retain incredible pen. That was kind of the odd part about these guns, is that they have mediocre 406 mil pen, unlike Slava, which has the shell velocity and the pen to back it up. Radar here, catching out gearing. It's absolutely insane to have radars on a battleship. So useful against destroyers. Although we don't have a hydro here. That could be a bit of an issue since we're broadside on to that gearing. It also manages to catch out the submarine. Without this radar consumable, I would have been a sitting duck, and there's no way we would have had the late game battle impact to maybe help our team win this one. Our Tor protection is not great, of course, because it's, well, it's more of a battle cruiser, so 21% Tor protection, we eat a big hit there. We hopefully are going to finish off that submarine, but we're caught broadside onto the Willem. But it's a waterline Citadel, and it's rather low in the water. The profile here, it's not quite like Petro, but it kind of makes me feel a bit like Petro, where we should be taking more damage than we are, even flat broadside. We'll take the flooding to finish off the submarine here. Insane utility here in the late game, and maybe some torpedoes. We're going towards where that gearing was. Insane. And they hit really hard. That was like 10k hit into that gearing. These torpedoes actually deal 17,500 alpha damage. Only a couple hundred off gearing torpedoes. 15-kilometer range and 115-second reload. You get 8 of them per side. That is kind of incredible. Some of the best torpedo power in the game is now on a battleship as well. And we nearly finished off that gearing. Our Hindenburg YOLO rushed the Willem, and our submarine managed to take out that gearing, so we won that game. I think completely down to the radar utility. How do you push this ship? If it's on a flank, it's not going to take much damage. If you try and go spot it with your DD, it's going to probably get a radar on you. It's only a 2 and a bit kilometer window you have to keep it lit without being in the radar range. If you try and push it with battleships and cruisers, well, it's just going to be constantly spinning torps on you. The main guns have great shell velocity, so you're not even going to, at range, be able to speed juke very easily, I guess. You're really relying on the poor dispersion of this ship. And by the way, they have a base reload of 25 seconds. So taking reload mon and a tiny bit of AR, you're down to a 20-second reload here. Battle cruisers have 20-second reloads on their main guns, don't they? Really relying on that 1.8 Sigma battleship dispersion to do a lot of the heavy lifting as far as nerfing this ship or keeping its power level in line. We get an incredible opportunity on a broadside Colombo here, and look at that dispersion. Wait, 1.8 Sigma battleship dispersion? Are we sure about that? I love this new map, playing aggressive. We're going to limit test some of this ship's survivability, of course, with new ships. The possibilities of pushing here are incredible. Look at this broadside, incomparable. One of the more vulnerable broadsides, of course. Insanely massive citadel. Oh, there's the 1.8 Sigma battleship dispersion I was expecting. Yes, it is very temperamental. And because of that, I don't know if I'm going to actually enjoy playing this line. I think it's incredibly powerful. It's kind of the ultimate in battle cruiser utility that just will not die. It's very, very tanky. We'll talk about the AA in a second as we're going to get focused like mad by this Essex and Guden, of course. Test ship, we're also playing very aggressive, so we've singled ourselves out to get focused. Maybe a good test of the AA here. But that broadside incomp, man, those are the salvos that I personally really want to see actually land. And some of that inconsistent main guns, it is a weak point of this ship. And while I do not think this ship is bad, it might just be a little too frustrating for me to want to play it all the time. But let's talk about that AA as we're getting struck over and over and over again. In theory, you have some of the best AA in the game, certainly for battleships. You have the most flak in the game by far. 14 flak clouds, 6 plus 8 there. And the continuous DPS is okay. It's pretty good for a battleship, to be honest with you. A lot of the flak damage is going to be the critical point of actually taking out enemy squads, though. Continuous DPS, I mean, think about the balancing perspective from Wargaming. If continuous DPS was enough to actually take out squads of planes, then, well, the squads of planes would just never get through, right? From a balancing perspective, they're never going to make continuous DPS actually do anything, right? We have to get lucky with flak clouds, and we have the most of them. We're going to take a lot of damage from carriers in this one, though, so we shot down some planes, but he's just constantly coming back with full squads. You're not going to survive in by yourself like this. I was pretty impressed with how long we did survive, though. I was not having a good time here, of course. This is not a good gaming experience, but to test the ship out, I was rather impressed with how long we were actually able to survive against all these carrier strikes and the Guden's airstrikes as well. That's a pretty big hit there, but for the most part, we've been taking rather small portions of damage. The armor here is surprisingly solid. And of course, I haven't mentioned it yet, but we do get an engine boost too. There is so much to talk about with this line. This is like the new Burrows line and its smokes, for example. You do have a limited duration of this engine boost consumable. It does not recharge. It's not a number of consumables. You just have a timer on it, which is very good, in fact, because you use it when you need it. And it is a 25% engine boost. We're actually able to get up to 46.4 knots at full top speed with brisk. That's pretty crazy. I was mostly using it, though, as a way to accelerate quickly. Broadside Kremlin, let's see the dispersion. That was pretty good, 40k, I'll take that. And of course, the torpedoes, which were spotted by Guden Hydro. This is why it's important to have fast torpedoes, because even if they're spotted, it's hard to get out of the way of these torps, man. So we're actually going to trade out the Kremlin that was on 80 or 90k HP while we were almost going down. yeah, you can't really even rush this ship either because the torpedo power is just that incredible. We lived a long time with considering the amount of focus we had from planes of all things. It's a very tanky ship, even though it has relatively low HP pool. That armor is doing a lot of heavy lifting. The low profile is doing a lot of heavy lifting here. Although there are some shot traps, okay? I want you to look towards the center of our hull where our torpedoes are. Great to have torp launchers, but there's some pretty weird shot traps there, I gotta say. And every once in a while, I would take a big hit to that, even when I was fully angled. Here, I want to show you an example of no carrier planes at all, and just running into a Hindenburg, which does pen through our deck armor, as well as things like Schlieffen and Slava and Napolis. We are going to get a lot of potential damage, even though this is just all surface ship combat. Maybe you're thinking that the Guden airstrikes were doing a lot of the heavy lifting on that potential damage last game, which they certainly were. But even against surface ships, this ship is surprisingly tanky. And the reason I'm focusing in on this is that I've been playing Rhode Island, right? We were looking at that recently for Black Friday. They brought back Rhode Island B. That ship has one of the largest, most vulnerable superstructures in the game, alongside overmatchable bow and stern. You just simply eat damage at any angle in a Rhode Island, so you got to play it more like a cruiser, more like a battle cruiser. This one plays as tanky as a lot of battleships, with cruiser level detect and cruiser level utility with this radar. Taking the radar upgrade module for Cole, that extends our duration, gets close to a 30-second radar on a battleship. A 10-kilometer, 30-second radar on a battleship. It is a longer cooldown, though, I will say. This ship does have a 150-second cooldown on that radar, so it takes a while to come back. But still, I mean, it's 25-second base radar. I should mention that. But still, that is a ton of utility. We are kind of caught broadside here, though, against the enemy team. I have kited too far. Perhaps I got too greedy to spin and get my other side torpedoes, which has left me in a bad position. We've survived several broadside shots, but now the Schlieffen is here to show us that, yes, it still does have a citadel. But given how many opportunities I've had to eat citadels in this ship and not, for the most part, eaten a citadel very consistently, you can kind of just get away with going broadside. I don't know why. I don't know why the game is like this. We should be getting absolutely smashed here, especially considering how much utility we have. But we managed to survive that one. Shatter and Ricochet on the Schlieffen there. I think that's the lack of pen. It's very weird having shell velocity around a Slava level without the dispersion and without the pen. It's very strange. It feels very weird to get used to that. However, every once in a while, I mean, the dispersion can just decide to cooperate. That's another 30k. Fast reload means that you're not as punished for not getting those perfect dispersion salvos. Personally, if I had my way with this ship, I would have loved a longer reload with better accuracy, to be honest with you. I just value that a lot more. Broadside super carrier now. And yes, we've had some good salvos, but this clip is here for a very good reason. This guy is just going to sit here. He's not going to move, all right? He's in his planes. He's not aware of the in-battle going on the surface. So we're just going to get opportunity after opportunity. We have a 20-second reload. We're going to have so many opportunities to actually hit this guy. Enemy Shikushima is also trying to get to us. And look, we just dodged him. Almost like a cruiser slowing down and turning in. Wait, is the maneuverability really good here too? We're 13 minutes in and I still haven't got to the base specs of this ship. All that's crazy. There's just so much to talk about here. I apologize. But yes, we do have a turning circle radius of 840 meters. Rudder shift of 16.2 seconds. And taking rudder mod, because again, we have the engine boost, 25% engine boost whenever we want to give us that little boost of propulsion when we need it. I found myself running rudder mod. It was really good. It danced around like a heavy cruiser a lot of the time. So we could actually avoid a lot of that incoming damage. Now combining Kremlin and Thor AA seems to be enough to do some decent damage to these planes. But yeah, we're just doing zero damage to this broadside carrier. I was getting a little frustrated, as you can maybe imagine. But at this point, it was kind of funny. How many salvos can I actually shoot at this broadside supercarrier and not get how many? Surely this one, right? No, okay. All right, time to brawl a Conqueror now. Maybe you think, well, we're going to rush it around islands. Maybe we're going to be able to get it into these brawling situations. Well, this ship has surprisingly good firing angles, 32 degrees forward and 34 degrees backwards. You also get the torpedoes at closer range. However, those you got to give more broadside for. And yes, of course, we do get the Citadel and the Conqueror, at least. But 42 degrees forward and 40 degrees backwards for the torpedoes. So these you do have to give more broadside. Watch this Shikishima shot, by the way. See where it lands? That's those shot traps. It is a small weakness, but it is there. I'm really reaching here because otherwise the ship feels kind of insane. The frustration element of the main guns is the balancing factor. If you're someone like me, you're going to see all this utility, all this surprising tankiness, surprising maneuverability, concealment, and think, wow, this is going to be wonderful to play. And it is, until you try to rely on the main guns. Sometimes they'll hit, and other times they just won't. And for me, that inconsistency is very annoying. Not that it should be consistent on top of all of these incredible strengths, by the way. Sending the torps through the channel, major choke points. I mean, 15 kilometers of torp range. We can stealth torp here. Repub pushes out broadside to us, and we get a decent hit for 3 pens only. That's 13,000 damage. That's that alpha damage coming into play. I was surprised that they gave it so much alpha damage on 406s here. Thought maybe that would be one of the weak points too. Sometimes giving us poor alpha damage, poor pen, poor on the main guns to balance things out. But it's actually surprisingly good alpha damage here too. I've mostly been focused on the armor piercing here. The HE is basically a copy of Montana HE, same alpha damage, 5,700, as well as pen at 68 millimeters and a fire chance of 36%. I'm not a fan of spamming HE out of my battleship, so that's why I haven't really focused on it. But considering a 20-second reload, it might be a good idea to just spam HE out of this thing. I haven't done that yet. It is still early days for me with this line. I've only managed to play them for a little while to collect this footage for you. So I'll have to give that a go. That might actually be the correct way to go about things. But the AP does some good damage, and I just want battleships to be more AP focused. I just feel so bad spamming HE out of them. Here we're going to fight a Bremen, another Bremen, and a Hawaii, and we're going to go broadside onto a Slava. And our engine boost here is going to try and accelerate out of this bad position. Do we take the Citadel from the Slava? No, we get very lucky, to be fair with you. But all this HE DPM coming in for us is kind of why I decided to leave this flank, because it seems like they're going to get a great angle on that island. Even with our great detect, we should probably leave, as they're probably going to get me spotted and burn me down rather quickly. We take surprisingly little damage there. I should have eaten at least some Citadels to that Slava. But we're so fast and maneuverable that it's actually even hard at 13 kilometers for this Bremen or Hawaii to be leading us. It's like a battle cruiser. It's like a fast, maneuverable battle cruiser that also then just get battleship armor. I was shocked by this, I gotta say. Getting to the flanks as well, even though the dispersion is trolly, it's still battleship main guns, and 406s will overmatch 27 millimeters of armor, so a lot of cruisers will still have to worry about that. There are plenty with 30 mil these days, but it's still quite a bit, and this Hawaii is an example of that. Large cruiser that will take a lot of overmatch from these main guns, and our reload is so fast, he's not going to have an opportunity to turn away. We're able to get around the map rather quickly, so our team, you notice, has kind of given up this flank. I want to reinforce that. I'm a fast enough battleship, I'm stealthy enough that I can kind of go over here on my own. If we run into a destroyer who's going to try and smoke up and farm us or try and sneak up and torp us, as is a weakness of a lot of battleships, we have the radar to counter that. I feel very safe to go on my own and do this, which is weird, because usually that's the weak point of a battleship, is not playing with your team, and you get overwhelmed very quickly. It's a weird experience here. The downsides being the HP pool, which I think is less of a downside considering the armor that we have seen throughout this video, and crucially, the main gun accuracy. Hawaii is going to go broadside onto us, and this is where I would want to do the most damage. Less damage when overmatch, and more damage to broadsides, but it's not to be, apparently. Understandably, the ship doesn't need a weakness, and of course it is the dispersion, which to me I find annoying. But if that's the only weakness, then how do you deal with this thing? I guess you just hope that the 20 seconds or so every time the salvo's coming through that gets the bad dispersion, and you have to keep it lit through its great detection. You have to worry about another 10 kilometer radar here. In the late game, enemy DDs left, and I thought, oh, maybe the DDs are south of us. We pop our radar. Oh, no, there they are. Just find them. I mean, how are you going to deal with this? If you try and push into it, it's got the torpedoes. Of course, early access. I know it looks exciting to go get these things, but Remember that it's a long consecutive bundle chain, and then 20,000 doubloons just to get a tech tree ship 2 months early. I can't recommend that you guys do that. Wait the 2 months, and then you'll have access to grinding these things completely for free. I will say, I appreciate that Wargaming seemed to make an entire tech tree line here, going from all the way to tier 4, all the way up to tier 10. I think that is really, really cool. There's also a premium that is seemingly a little bit different as well at tier 8. So we'll have to take a look at all of these. Maybe not all the way down to tier 4, but certainly a lot of these higher tier ones I'm very much looking forward to taking a look at. But so far, Thor, pretty crazy. I mean, we got 120k spotting in this one. You can play a bit of a flanker spotting role for your team too. It's very powerful. And now to show you guys the armor profile here, it's just so low in the water, man. And surprisingly small superstructure here too. We have, I mean, a large section here, but towards the stern. And if this ship is kiting away from you at speed, maneuvering, it's going to be very difficult to deal with. 32 mil everywhere here. You do get that 40 millimeters of deck armor, 70 mil upper belt, and then 350 on the side. But that is not your Citadel. That is just upper belt armor. And we do have the Citadel down at waterline and a bit of spaced armor in there as well to maybe make things a little bit trolly on top. 350 plus 60? That's a lot, man. That's a lot to give just one ship as far as armor goes. So maybe even the survivability, the HP points isn't a downside at all. You could use on your commander this upgrade here as well, which is better when you have less HP to start with. A tanky, lower HP battleship actually benefits the most from this. You get a ton of consumable cooldown, and given that I was very easily able to get over 2 million potential damage on this ship, you could maybe just save 1 commander point by dropping this and getting your 5th heal through here, and you get back to them sooner. Taking things like super heavy AP shells bumps our alpha damage up from 13,600 650, up to 14,674 on 406s. It's like 457 territory, maybe even close to, is that Yamato alpha damage? Insane. But the dispersion, right? The dispersion is something to think about. Brisk is very useful on a ship that has great detect. This is not correct, by the way. In game, what I was playing with was the correct concealment, like 12.3, I think I was running. This was a nerf that they did to the ship. But fortunately, I got to play with seemingly the finalized version as much as I can see. I hope they don't do any more last-minute changes. Turret traverse was another problem with this ship. I was getting greedy for things like AA defense and ASW expert, buffing our strong AA, but as well as getting back to those consumables quicker. It is a long reload, standard reload on the heal, standard damage control, that kind of thing, as well as wanting to try brisk. So having a 46-second turret traverse did not feel very good when we're trying to play a little closer. We're trying to use our radar to find those DDs. Sometimes you got to move your guns to get on target, and that turret traverse isn't so great. Running something like Gunfeeder is also going to be good if you find yourself swapping over to that high explosive, which I need to test. I know I should have tested it more, but I was really trying to find opportunities to use the torps and see how good the main gun dispersion was alongside the concealment and overall tankiness. Find opportunities for radar. There's just so much with this one that I guess we'll just got any more videos. We do have a 30-second duration with this surveillance radar mod here. It had a 30-second. This was another change that they made. Unfortunately, I did get to play with the nerfed radar, which is a good thing. I mean, it's still such a long duration here. This engine boost, though, is wild. 25% engine boost is very, very good. You only get 135 seconds of it. I would not really want to use it just as a get around the map. Maybe you can in the mid to late game when you've cleared your side and you need to get over to the other side to help your team. That's an opportunity, but I found this incredibly valuable for running rudder mod here, which gets us down to a 13-second rudder on 840-meter turning circle radius, and still having that burst of speed to accelerate when we need to. And this thing has a cooldown time of 28 seconds, so you can use it for a little bit, for 15 seconds at a time, turn it off, and it's right back and ready to go again. It's very, very powerful. This is a crazy line. Giving a line of radar battleships is kind of wild. And as a reminder, the only other tier 10 battleship with a radar is Rhode Island. Look at this armor profile. I mean, that is quite different. That is very, very different. So a pretty incredible new line. Very excited to take a look at the rest of them. We'll have Gustav here at tier 9, just as a little teaser. Oh, suddenly I have a superstructure. Okay, that starts to make a little bit more sense. Although we still get good bow and stern armor. I'm surprised. I thought they would be more like battle cruisers, where there was a weakness of overmatch and that kind of thing. But no, it's very tanky radar that just has trolley main guns as its main downside, and maybe some of the best torpedo power in the game. Not even just for battleships, but cruisers and destroyers as well. It's a lot. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.